And switching from, very retro news and then flipping right into more modern stuff, Halo Infinite. So there's actually been a really interesting update around Halo Infinite. So initially it came out as a bit of a leak and a question around. There was a conversation from the Smith's Toys website, just sort of saying that the multiplayer would be free to play and also support 120 frames per second. And, at first people were like, oh no, is this actually right? And no, Microsoft actually came out and confirmed that Halo Infinite is going free to play for multiplayer, which is really, really interesting. What did you think of this as the Xbox person of the two of us?
I'm the Xbox person. So I'm a little of two minds of this. I think it has potential to be great. Really build a really big community. But with Game Pass, I thought, well, they're kind of already there because essentially for a lot of people, they obviously there's a cost to Game Pass, but for the people that already have it, it's almost like the games on there are almost free. It's weird, like a
Exactly.
weird mindset.
Exactly.
But I mean, to be clear as well, yeah, it is just the multiplayer, not the campaign, which is interesting because I think they put the Forge mode of Halo 5, I think it is, on Windows Store at some point, and that was free. So it's not the first time they've tried something like this.
Mm.
But it's going to be really interesting to see though, and this is where the other side of me comes into it, is what does that mean for the actual design of the multiplayer in terms of progression systems, in terms of what I guess free to play games would typically include? Does that mean that they have come out and said there won't be loot boxes and things, but they will be forms of microtransactions? So the
Mm.
assumption is there's going to be battle pass, like your Fortnite, like your Rocket League, your Call of Duties, basically every game these days. So I
Yeah.
guess the original was probably Dota with that stuff, but
Mm.
that's it's almost a given at this point. I just hope that it does not affect progression in that sense. I've said last week that I'm a fan of when multiplayer games that it doesn't matter if you played for 200 hours or you're playing your first game, you're on equal ground. It
Yeah, I
should
agree.
always, in my opinion, be, okay, it's cool to get ranks and stuff and things like that, but they don't affect the gameplay. I remember trying the Bioshock 2 multiplayer, and suddenly everyone that's playing the game and ranked up has got all these cool perks and abilities, and it's like, well, how is that fair? And it's the same with Assassin's Creed, which actually had I think with Brotherhood and a few of the other games that had the multiplayer. The multiplayer in those games are actually really cool, but you were at a huge disadvantage if you just started because a lot of the best abilities you didn't get till later on, and you had to play a heap of the game to get them. So I really hope with it going free to play that it only sticks to cosmetics, and it doesn't get very predatory with its monetization.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's a few things there. So I think most people now feel that pay to win stuff, where you can buy your way to perks that give you an unfair advantage. That's becoming almost, not unacceptable, but just to a point where people just don't like that at all, and it really sours the whole
Well,
experience.
you can thank
You know,
Battlefront 2 for that.
Well, yeah, and sometimes you need these extreme examples that wakes up everyone. And I think also that game helped push a lot of jurisdictions to really question loot boxes to a point where you're actually seeing them phased out by the industry without regulation because I think they see the writing on the wall and they don't want to be forced, right?
Yeah.
But you've got the really big ones like FIFA where they literally make like $1 billion of revenue a year on that game. It's just
Or,
insane from the
or,
loot
or you
boxes
look
and
at
stuff like that.
NBA 2K with actual casinos in them. It's just mind boggling, and oh
I
my
do
god.
wish we were doing the potty back then because that was
Oh,
like an unbelievable moment. It was like a Trump like moment in gaming, where it's like, really, are they saying that? Like, is this a joke? Is this an elaborate joke or something? But yeah, just going to your point, like, so pay to win, I'm 100% on the same page as you. Like, if you can buy something that gives you, a better shield or something that you can't normally get, like, that's just BS. But progression, I'm kind of a bit of two minds. I think It sounds weird that I'm saying this because this game's kind of not built to be competitive, but one thing that Splatoon 2 really taught me, and Splatoon 1 really, is that, giving people different roles and feeling like they can participate is quite critical as well. So I think it's okay if you have a bit of nuance. If you've been playing for a while, maybe you have certain things that you can do, abilities, but it's this balancing act of how do you make it in such a way that it doesn't make it unfair for a newbie to come along. And I've certainly felt this when I tried to get into Rainbow Six Siege because I thought this kind of game, I love those type of competitive multiplayer games, but just getting into it, and it's like everyone has got like maxed out packages and you have to buy operators and all this kind of weird stuff. I was just like, ugh, it just kind of put me off the whole thing altogether. So yeah, I get where you're coming from. I'm probably not as extreme in terms of just really disliking a game completely if it has any of those elements.
Well, speaking
But
about
just going,
Splatoon, let's hope they don't bring across Splatoon's non-existent lobby model.
oh yeah, like yeah, and yeah, park that side
Oh
of it.
my
I
god,
think
that
the
is.
gameplay itself,
Oh my god, I can't. I only played that game for one night, and I just cannot believe what we had to go through just to play a match. That was insane.
so yeah, the context is Splatoon 2 went free on a weekend. I got Swinny because I love Splatoon 2. I love that game so much. And I would play it so much more if the online was better. But I love it so much and I tried to get you into it, and the fact that there's no real lobby system. You have to kind of join at the same time as someone else and then hope that you get in the same sequence of match with them. And then it's like they could be on your side one time, they could be against you the next round. It's so dumb. It's really like insane because it's actually worse than Xbox Live, the OG Xbox. They had a lobby system in Halo 2. Like it's quite amazing that that's not in it. And just like one thing I wanted to round out was, and a concept that I'll probably talk about a lot is there's a concept around perceived versus actual value. And, I guess there's a bit of marketing as well, but you do want to maximize your perceived value over the actual value you're delivering as a company. Like, essentially, that's what all companies are trying to do. And this announcement was really smart because I saw it and I was like, wow, that's awesome. Like, what the hell? Like, they're going to go free for the multiplayer. Like, that's probably the first thing I'd want to play with Halo Infinite. But then, what you said at the start, I was like, hang on a second, wait. Like, if I was in the Xbox ecosystem, I probably already have Game Pass and you got to have Xbox Live. So, this is kind of like a nothing announcement for me if I was in that situation. But the way it hits people, it does actually sound really crazy. So it's very smart marketing, I think, if for nothing else.
Definitely.
And also just confirms that the multiplayer is launching with the game. I do have some concerns about whether the game is going to launch in a coherent manner. Probably not as bad as Anthem, but 343's already had experience with rough launches. So I don't know, man. I'd get a bit nervous just from if you're a big Halo fan about this game personally.
Oh, look, I think I don't remember any specific issues around Halo 4 or 5. So I think with Master Chief Collection they tried to bite off more they can chew in one go, because with
Yeah.
Master Chief Collection, the original launch, I mean, it was there was everything at once, with the exception of ODST and Reach, which they brought out later. Um,
Mm.
so on the PC, they've at least staggered the release, which I think has worked out better for them. So
Yeah, for sure.